Hi, I'm Jonathan Koehler with the Napa County RCD. I'm out on the Napa River today in the Napa River watershed, which is where I do most of my work. The Napa River watershed is one of the most significant steelhead streams remaining in the San Francisco Bay. And we also have a small run of Chinook salmon that utilize the watershed. Um, the Napa River watershed is developed. Certainly it's not rural by most standards. Primarily it's developed by vineyards, and the Napa Valley wines are famous, and they come of course from growing Napa Valley grapes, and those grapes have really been planted throughout the valley floor and up into the hillsides. And historically that has really taken away quite a bit of habitat from the Napa River. In addition to just developing the land for agriculture, certainly the cities have developed. So the city of Napa, Yountville, city of St. Helena, Calistoga, they've also all had their impacts on the watershed. Historically, the Napa River watershed would have been mostly oak woodland with grasslands and a relatively shallow, wide valley floor river coursing through it that was frequently flooding, so it would be connected to its floodplain probably every year or every 2 years, and really moving around a lot. That kind of behavior is pretty incompatible with living here and farming here. So levees were constructed along the Napa River, and the river was essentially tamed and created into one single channel that we now have today. That's led to long-term habitat degradation. The habitat quality is just lower. It doesn't have as much complexity, and yet still we're in far better shape than many Bay Area watersheds. So the Napa River still has great potential because agriculture is a good land use relative to urbanization or hardening of a watershed. Think about places like San Jose and Silicon Valley. Those places are really sort of almost semi-permanently altered, whereas the Napa Valley, we have really progressive landowners here that are farming, and they're willing to set back their grape growing operations to do habitat restoration. So that's very promising. In terms of threats to salmon, probably the primary threat in Napa is just lack of water in our streams. So we are right on the boundary of the dry south and the wet north, and much of the watershed goes dry in the summer. And of course, salmon and steelhead need cold, clean water year-round to survive the summer, and often streams just go dry here. And it really doesn't take too much extraction of groundwater to dry out those streams that would otherwise, just hold on and allow fish to oversummer. So that's been a long-term sort of loss of habitat. It's just water extraction from the watershed. Agriculture, but also municipal uses. So the cities and basically all of the 80,000 or so folks that live in the Napa River watershed that use water take that out. Another significant threat to the watershed have been fish passage barriers. Things like dams, small dams, large dams, road crossings, and all of those kinds of things that basically block fish movement to and from the ocean. And we've made great progress actually with many partners in the Napa River watershed to address and fix a lot of those. So I see that as a real promising improvement in the future. And finally, I'd say the last threat to salmon and steelhead is just water quality. So things like pollutants coming from wastewater, but also mud and sand and fine sediment that can smother eggs in the stream bed. Those are all pollutants that cumulatively, each one of them has an impact on the survival of these little baby fish and then also of the adult. So any efforts to address those will help.